Can you do gymnastics while singing opera? Honestly, the first time I watched the 2008 Dresden production of Rigoletto with Diana Damrau as Gilda, I was stunned. She is on the bed, lying on her stomach, kneeling, rolling onto her back, constantly moving, full of restless physical energy. And then she springs straight up without ever stopping singing. The physical force and visual impact are huge. No wonder the comments are full of people calling it legendary and a benchmark of modern opera. I was excited too, but as someone who keeps digging into vocal details, I also felt something was wrong. So I did something slightly obsessive. I extracted the audio and put it into acoustic analysis software. And then I found something that genuinely made me angry. I'm not angry at Damrau, I'm angry at the director. Why make an opera singer chase an Oscar? That burden should never have been put on her. Look at this part, the final long vibrato. Damrau sustains it for about 10 seconds. After that, you can clearly see the sound narrowing and becoming thinner on the graph. The trace starts to show the physical cost of what came before. If you cut back to the video and look closely, you can see her lying on the pillow, quietly wiping sweat from her nose. Does Damrau sing well? Absolutely. She is a top-level singer. Why would you put a singer of this level into one of the worst possible physical positions for delicate, soft singing? When the body has to roll, lie sideways, rise, and stabilize itself at the same time, the conditions for breast support change. The core, the ribs, the abdomen, and the back are all busy keeping the body stable. Of course, the voice will carry traces of that effort. So what does a full-strength version sound like when the singer does not have to compromise for stage movement? Let us go back several decades. 1955, Maria Callas. The same aria, the same final passage. We do not have high-definition video of this performance. We do not know whether Callas was standing, sitting, or moving on stage. The strange thing is, you do not need the picture. Look at her spectrogram. The final long vibrato lasts a full 15 seconds. From strong to soft, it remains remarkably stable. With that level of breath control, she holds the entire theater in suspension. Now look at what happens before the final vibrato. She stays on G5 for 1 or 2 seconds. Just that brief pause. Steady. Unhurried. Callas said in her teaching notes that this note had to be beautiful and long. Many people imagine Gilda as a light little bird, a girl who only knows how to dream. Yet in Callas's soft singing, Gilda has flesh and blood. There is already a tragic weight inside her. When the voice itself has enough control, tragedy does not need large physical gestures to prove itself. Callas is performing. She simply pushes the performance into the sound. Other singers may sound as if they're finishing a musical phrase. Callas sounds as if a soul is leaving the room. Her voice is not merely getting smaller, it is moving farther away from us. You can almost see a young woman disappearing at the end of a corridor. Sutherland, in the 1961 version, gives us a useful comparison. On the spectrogram, her trace is very close to Callas's. She also stays on G5, and her final vibrato lasts even longer, around 19 seconds. But the sound feels different. Callas seems to be moving away. Sutherland seems to hold the vocal line steadily. Bombing later linked Sutherland's much-discussed mushy diction to her pursuit of perfect legato. So here we can hear Sutherland's focus on continuity of line. Callas is different. She is focused on the truth of the character in this moment. Callas and Sutherland's era certainly had stage direction. Of course it did. Yet they were not facing today's highly physical, highly cinematic director's theater. They could drive the drama straight into your ears through the weight of the voice itself. Now let us return to Damrau in 2008. At the same point, she reaches higher than the earlier singers. She touches A flat 5. But look carefully at the graph. She does not stay there. She touches that height and moves away quickly. There is no pause, no anchor. If you want to hear the song, you can find it on YouTube quickly. If you think that is where the breath issue is exposed, you would be wrong. The real test comes in the final, long vibrato. Many people assume that when a singer runs out of breath, the problem must be the high note. So let us look at the final vibrato, the most demanding breath control point in this passage. Callas, Sutherland, and Damrau are dealing with different objective conditions, different recordings, different productions, different theatrical situations. Still, they all face the same basic question here. How do you hold and interpret the vibrato around E5? Callas sustains the E5 vibrato for about 15 seconds. The energy line is solid, almost like a wall. Sutherland's E5 lasts even longer, around 19 seconds. The sound seems to remain suspended in the air, without a visible flaw. And Damrau, the so-called benchmark of modern opera? At the same E5 area, why did the earlier singers sustain it for 15 to 19 seconds, while she stops around the 10th second? This is not about talent. This is not simply about pitch. The answer is in the body. A voice teacher will tell you a cold physiological fact. Vocal support is not just about having air in the lungs. You have to understand it through muscular and skeletal support. If the body position is compromised, even good breathing becomes harder to use well. Even singing while seated can make core support much more difficult. So what happens when Damrau has to sing this while lying sideways, even lying on her stomach, on a bed? The abdomen is pressed into the mattress. The skeletal points of support are shifted. The abdomen, ribs, back, and pelvis are all constrained by the posture. The breathing support system cannot adjust as freely, as steadily, or as finely. This is the contradiction of modern staging. Opera is not cinema. The singer is not a prop inside the director's frame. When a director demands visual tension and makes Damrau roll across the bed like a gymnast, she can still do it because she is strong enough. But when even a soprano like Damrau, a singer who made the Queen of the Night's F6 famous, has to face this soft E5 vibrato under those conditions, the voice has to pay for the staging. Callas once said something I wrote down and never forgot. Voice is a means of expression, not a fireworks display. The eighth note rests Verdi wrote into the score are there for emotional suffocation. They are not little gaps for the singer to gasp for air. So next time you go to the theater or listen to a recording, do not just wait for the high note to blow the roof off. Close your eyes. Listen to the sound getting lighter. Listen to that G5 suspended in midair. Because the most fascinating moment in opera is often hidden in the few seconds when the voice is about to disappear. That is the moment that should not be disturbed.